This is the fastest way to get rid of heartburn, GERD, and acid reflux. You know, when I lived in China, I was once at a business dinner with businessmen who were pushing me way too hard to drink way more alcohol than I wanted to drink. And after that, I had severe indigestion. And for some days after that, my stomach was quite irritated. But that night, these particular businessmen pulled out a little packet of some traditional Chinese patent medicine that they gave me that made an immediate difference in the first 5 or 10 minutes after. Now, that famous formula we'll talk about, it's from Hong Kong, southern China, and we'll talk about other formulas and lifestyle practices you can do if you suffer from a lot of upper GI issues here. Hey guys, I'm Dr. Alex Heyn, board licensed doctor of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, and author of the health book, Master the Day. So let's jump in. All right, so I was at a business dinner here. Now, culturally, one thing I've noticed is that there is a culture in business in many parts of Asia that encourages heavy drinking because it's not believed that you can trust a business comrade unless you've seen them obliterated drunk, so the truth serum has gotten a chance to work. So there's an inherent sort of distrust in the culture that it's believed that you need to get very drunk so that you can see people's true colors and then you can trust them, that kind of thing. Just interesting cultural artifact there. Now in this particular case, they were pushing me to drink more than I wanted to drink, and I was getting a lot of indigestion and acid reflux and heartburn. And I said, oh, you know, I can't do anymore. My stomach is killing me. I'm getting this indigestion. And one of the businessmen pulled out a little patent formula, you know, something you could just get at the pharmacy. And this over-the-counter formula was something called Kangningwan, and it's used basically for functional dyspepsia and indigestion. He gave me a couple of these. They were tea pills. They're like little rolled up pills. I think I took 9 of them, swallowed them with hot water, and 15 minutes later, my stomach was feeling great. And I was like, that was way more effective than Tums. And I just thought, this is so interesting. This culture also has pharmaceutical companies, also has medicines that work, also has them in a pharmacy as if you were just going into CVS or Walgreens, but it's just not Tums. It's just owned by different companies. And it worked amazingly well. That was one of my first experiences using traditional Chinese medicine for acid reflux or for indigestion. I mean, this is one of the most common conditions that I see overall. So how do we actually approach this? What causes it? And what medicines can you utilize to treat it? So let's do a 30-second rundown of what acid reflux, GERD, and indigestion actually are. What's actually functionally happening to the stomach. In GERD or acid reflux, if you go to a typical physician, they will tell you it is the dysfunction and the failure to close of something called the lower esophageal sphincter. Your body has these little valves in it, in the digestive system, that open and close depending on where you are basically in the phase of digestion. Your doctor may tell you this is a structural problem because the physical valve is malfunctioning. This is only 50% true because it is a functional sphincter that functions based on what you put in the stomach. So if you have a regular meal, the lower esophageal sphincter will function just fine. If it is heavy, greasy, fried food over and over and over again, and you're constantly overeating, you will have chronic issues with that sphincter opening and closing. You go to your doctor, they're going to make you to believe that there's a structural issue. It is not a structural issue. It is a functional issue. Do not believe that for 1 second, because the only thing they've got to give you is various classes of medications you'll take to the day you die. But due to various factors, low or high stomach acid, low enzyme production in the pancreas, issues with your gallbladder and bile flow, all of these can come into play that can cause issues with refluxing of stomach contents, right? So it's coming up out of the stomach into the esophagus, which is where you're feeling that sensation that's uncomfortable or the burning in the chest itself. Valve should be closed, food and liquid are coming up through it. 30-second rundown. It's important to really know where your acid reflux or indigestion is coming from because, for example, if you have low stomach acid, supplementing with HCl, hydrochloric acid, may improve the symptoms. But some people have high stomach acid. From eating a poor diet, you could think of it as it's trying to ramp up the furnace to digest this big piece of meat, this big fried meal, this heavy meal you've put in it. If that person, you put in hydrochloric acid, they're going to get a huge wave of burning. So that's why I've taken the time to put together this free root cause quiz. It's the first link below the video here. Also, you can go to dralexheyn.com/quiz. We go into extensively the top 100 symptoms or so, where they're coming from, what organ system they relate to, and what is the root cause. So take that quiz because it'll show you exactly which symptom to pay attention to, what organ it relates to, and then we hyperlink to dozens of other videos that I've shot on specific conditions, and more importantly, how to treat them with traditional Chinese medicine. So check it out, first link below this video, and let's jump into what we can actually do about it now. Because Traditional medicine, conventional medicine doesn't really have a way that actually fixes acid reflux. I'm not even gonna waste any time on that. Let's talk about how we actually treat it. And I will say, it is extremely effectively treatable with just diet and lifestyle, or if it's really severe, with the formulas that we use in traditional Chinese medicine. We break it down into what we call excess and deficiency acid reflux. Excess acid reflux is more of the traditional, like, standard American diet. Imagine like a fat, overweight American dude with a sweaty red face, pimples, a lot of redness, a lot of color in the face from the neck up. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, high lipids overall. This kind of person is what we call excess. Excess means there's more manifestations of heat. Now, when there's more manifestations of heat and inflammation, you almost always never just see acid reflux unless it's just beginning. You'll always see typically sinus issues, sinus headaches, frontal, blood pressure, high cholesterol, high lipids, that kind of thing. In addition to it, we call spleen Qi deficiency with liver and gallbladder stagnation. What that means is spleen Qi deficiency usually is either decreased stomach acid or altered stomach acid, with decreased pancreatic enzyme production. And then there's almost always, these people always have gallbladder issues, right? If they don't now, they will. So there's always an issue with bile flow. They have gallbladder sludge, or they're having gallbladder stones and attacks. Now for this type, they manifest with more constipation, typically. That's the excess version. We look at everything functionally. So we're looking at it, what other body systems are impaired. Now, what we call deficiency acid reflux is what we typically call spleen Qi deficiency. This is a really bad translation of a Chinese term. It mostly involves low stomach acid, low pancreatic enzyme production. Now, for this kind of person, they usually are more pale-faced like me, usually are lower appetite, usually can even eat healthier diets, but for some people on both sides, stress can be a big factor that plays a role. These people, for example, they can have acid reflux but eat a healthy diet. For some of them, it's more of a deficiency of organ functioning. There's often more of a genetic root here. There's more of like a constitutional tendency towards weak digestion. Different from the excess type, this type benefits from hydrochloric acid and enzymes that are supplemented. Now finally, let's give you two really effective formulas that are treating excess acid reflux and deficiency. Now you could actually take that formula Kangningwan. That is something used for food stagnation, but these two formulas in my experience are more effective. For more of the deficiency type, there's a formula called Li Zhongwan, regulate the middle pill. This formula is comprised of 4 effective herbs: ginseng, an herb called atractalodes, an herb called ganjiang, dried ginger in high dose, and zhigancao, honey fried licorice root. Those 4 fix this better than anything I've ever seen. On the excess side, where there's more heat, there can be more heat symptoms, more constipation, more headaches, more high blood pressure, high lipids, high blood sugar. This formula that I've seen work the best is called Banxia Sheshintang. Banxia purge the heart decoction. This formula has some of the same herbs. It has the ginseng, it has the dried ginger, it has the honey fried licorice, but it has some other herbs as well that are typically very, very high in berberine. It also has an herb called Banxia Pinellia, which is very effective for this kind of warm, damp mucus and phlegm you get in the chest from reflux. And there's also 2 very, very bitter anti-inflammatory herbs: huangqin, Scutellaria, skullcap, and coptis, which is Coptis rhizoma, herb called huanglian in Chinese. These 2 very, very bitter herbs are amazing for the digestive system, for inflammation, blood sugar, and a lot more. So those are really my 2 go-to formulas. I'll give it to you free. I wouldn't recommend buying them online. I know you probably still will to try them, but those are some that have made a really big difference for the treatment of acid reflux and are very effective to get people off medications for those as well, even if it's been serious and for years. So that's what I've got for you here today, guys. A little mini masterclass in dealing with upper GI issues from a traditional Chinese medicine point of view. I also have another related video on treating GI issues with traditional Chinese medicine right up here.